What is up, everybody? Welcome back here to another episode of Dolphins versus the World. And as always, we're joined here by the man behind the camera. Shout out to producer Joel and my co-host with me, Anthony. Anthony, how you feeling today?
I'm feeling good, man. Ready to talk some Dolphins football. Let's get into it.
Let's do it. This is another week that I think is going to be fun to talk about just because we could get right to it, but it feels like this has Dolphins blowout victory written all over it. And last week, we were pretty arrogant in our preview. Obviously, deservingly so. The Dolphins have been our great team, but I'm just worried that one of these one day we may just get like freezing cold take. Just look back here and we're like, oh God, how are we saying all that? I don't think it's going to be this week, but if the team keeps looking like this and there's some matchups scheduled like this, one of these days something might happen.
Hey man, with games like this, I think for me, freezing cold takes are like, for hot takes. I don't think, saying that I think the Dolphins are going to easily cover. I think the spread right now is like 13.5. I don't think being confident about beating the Giants or the Panthers when you're a powerhouse like the Dolphins are, I don't really think. I mean, there's people out there that obviously would use it. But again, I'm not going out here saying anything's impossible. But yeah, definitely last week and then certainly this week, I feel really, really confident about the matchups. But again, it's the NFL, anything can happen. But yeah, certainly when you have a powerhouse like the Dolphins are right now, I mean, how can you not predict them to beat teams that are the Giants and Panthers?
Yeah, I think this is the worst team we've played so far after I kind of dug into it and looked around. And I think if Andy Dalton was playing quarterback, I wouldn't say that at all. I think this would be like close to an average team, but just Bryce Young has had a really, really, really rough start to his NFL career. And I think that's just the starting point here and where the entire defense versus offense breakdown is. What have you kind of seen from their offense so far?
I mean, not much, if I'm being honest. And let me start by saying this. If the Patriots weren't in our division, I would say they are the worst team we've played. The Patriots are just god awful. It's really bad. But obviously division games, like, are always tough just because you're so familiar. Watching the Panthers, it's just, I feel for Bryce Young. Going into the draft, I was not high on him. I had him as my third ranked quarterback. I thought it was very clearly CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, and then Bryce Young. And aside from injuries for Anthony Richardson, it's looked about right there. But, also, like we talked about the Giants, man, there's not a lot of talent there. You got Miles Sanders, who, let's be honest, is overrated after playing behind the Eagles' offensive line. You have an offensive line that's not good at all, and we know plenty about what that's like, so there's empathy there. And then wide receiver-wise, what do they have? Adam Thielen, who at this point in his career is a number 3 at most places. So, I feel for the guy. Reason had mentioned this on his show, and I want to echo it because I think it's a great point. A lot of what Bryce Young is going through reminds me a lot of what Tua went through, where you have a guy who coming into the NFL, it was never the physical traits that wowed you. It was always the poise, the accuracy, the anticipation. And I would argue that Tua to me was better coming out of college at that than Bryce Young. And he's bigger, but you put a guy like that on a team where there's not a lot of talent. You got rid of his best wide receiver, and I don't really know what you expect from him. So certainly this is a game that I think on defense, there's plays to be had. And I don't certainly see it being a game where the Panthers are suddenly going to get back on track on offense.
Yeah, and another situation that is similar to Tua, there's a lot of comparisons, but I don't know if you got a chance to see this, but did you see Frank Reich speaking with the media? And he kind of basically just alluded to the fact that I don't know the name of the owner for the Panthers, that escapes me, but basically was like that he's a very hands-on owner. He is meddling in everything we're doing. He basically alluded to the fact that he made the call for Bryce Young and kind of made it seem like he wasn't interested in Bryce Young in a typical David Tepper, as you just told me, as the owner. a typical Frank Reich quarterback has been the CJ Stroud build, like a bigger frame quarterback, more of the physical attributes. And Bryce Young is not at all what you would think for Frank Reich here. And that's no excuse for how bad this team has been. I mean, when you're throwing to a 33-year-old Adam Thielen as your number one receiver, I don't think you're going to have a very good offense. He's never been a career wide receiver one, let alone at 33 years old.
Yeah. You know, I again, I don't claim to know a lot about the draft. I'm still getting into it. I thought very clearly CJ Stroud was the best quarterback, and
me too.
You can go. I have it like written down. There's podcasts where we talk about it. I mean, that's why I like doing the podcast, because at least there's a track record, but I have Google Drive and everything with it. You know, I never would have gone with Bryce Young as the number one overall quarterback. And this is something that we don't need to spend too long on it, but I get pissed off when owners, like, I understand, you know, you and I can never understand what it's like to be a billionaire. It'd be nice. But, you know, I can understand when you're a billionaire and you own an NFL team, you want say in it. But, like, to me, my understanding of, like, how things work is, like, I love when head coaches do whatever the heck they want, because at the end of the day, the ball, or what was that? The ball stops with them. I think that's the saying. But point is, they're responsible for everything. And I get annoyed with owners because you're sitting there saying, take this guy, but then if it doesn't work out, you're going to fire him. I don't get that. And to me, you know, I'll never be in that position to be a head coach, but I would always make it very clear when I go for a job interview, and I know that it might limit my options, but, you know, I'm taking CJ Stroud. I don't know what to tell you. Like, the GM, I know the GM and the head coach were in the same path there, but when the guy who's in charge of signing your checks says, no, let's take, I just don't get it. Let the head coach get the guy he wants, because at the end of the day, you're going to fire him if it doesn't work out anyway. So let him die on that sword. And clearly, I think through 3 weeks, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say that Bryce Young's a failure, because we saw that with Tua. I'm never going to do that with the quarterback. But so far, it's definitely looked like it's been hard. But also at the same time, I can't imagine too many quarterbacks right now succeeding in Carolina, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they got so many problems. The least of which being quarterback, but just kind of more so talking about Bryce Young here for a little bit. Like, it's very cliche and everyone says it, but it's true. Like, the game hasn't slowed down for him yet. Like, it still feels like he's just shocked by this, not shocked, but struggling with the speed of the NFL. And maybe that could come this week. I don't know. It could come in a few weeks. Yeah, I don't think it's going to come this week. But yeah, when that happens, then you could start to truly evaluate him. But yeah, I mean, he's just struggling, like, to put it point blank.
I mean, we saw what happened when a rookie quarterback went against Vic Fangio. We saw it firsthand. Austin Jackson was getting his ass kicked, and Tua had no idea what was going on. So again, I understand. You know, I think we have to draw a fine line with expecting more from Vic Fangio in this defense, personnel and coaching, but also, like, you know, he's still a Hall of Fame defensive coordinator in my mind. Again, anything can happen in the NFL. So when I say there's no way, understand that whenever anyone says there's no way, there's always a possibility. But there's no way in hell that Vic Fangio is going to all of a sudden, like, he's going to have a plan. He has yet to play a rookie quarterback this year. Everyone he's faced, actually, I'm trying to think, Daniel Jones, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, Russell Wilson, Mac Jones, everyone he's faced has been in the NFL at least 3+ years. So Vic Fangio and this unit going against a guy who not on it, every rookie quarterback. That's why what CJ Stroud doing is so impressive. Every quarterback at this point is confused and lost a little, and the game's so fast for them. This is definitely not the game again where I see, similar to the Giants last week, the Dolphins defense may be underperforming compared to what we expect, but they're certainly not a defense where you look at it and say, oh, that's a get right game for our offense. Certainly not.
Yeah. I think what you can expect from the defense in this game, honestly, is the same as last game. Like, I don't think there will be an offensive touchdown. And that's not same thing. Like, that's credit to the defense for that. But it's just like, if you strip out garbage time and the Andy Dalton game, like, their offense has been pathetic, like worse than the Giants has been. So I think the defense is going to have another big day, and hopefully they could use it to build some confidence going into the next 2 weeks, which are some big tests.
Yeah, certainly. We got some big tests coming up for this team, which I'm excited about because, that's when you learn a lot about your team. But yeah, this Panthers offense right now. So I wrote down, I've done it for every week, but I want to start like giving the exact numbers and everything, like the rankings and stuff. So let's talk about the Panthers offense real quick versus our defense. So the Panthers offense right now is bottom 11 in every single statistical category. Now the Dolphins defense is also bottom 12 in every category except run defense. Our run defense is only 18th in the NFL, which isn't great, but still.
Better than I was.
Right. Yeah. But like I look at this right now and I'm like points per game, which is the main indicator of your offense. I understand yards per game and all of that, but at the end of the day, points is what's going to win you the games. I went through every single game for the Dolphins and the Panthers, and I took away any points scored that weren't from the offense. So if those of you that don't know, whenever you see points per game or points allowed per game, that's team. I don't know why they put it on offense and defense. It's team. So I went through every game for both teams, and I did the average of how many points is the offense actually scoring, because they had a fumble return or a pick six against the Vikings.
Pick six.
I think it was a pick six. Yeah. So they're actually scoring 16.8 points per game. The Panthers. The Dolphins defense, if you take away the punt return touchdown and then the pick six against the Giants, we're giving up 24 points per game, which certainly is not bad. It certainly is not good. It's not awful, but it's not good. So like I look at this Panthers offense and, again, I said it with the Giants and certainly if the Dolphins are going against the Bills and stuff, I worry until we prove otherwise. But again, I can't look at Vic Fangio. I can't look at this defense and say, yeah, you're going against a rookie quarterback, a team that's 25th in the NFL in points per game, is bottom 12 in everything, and say that they're going to have a rough time. So, this is certainly a game where, as long as you're able to disguise some stuff, get pressure on Bryce Young, not that it's going to be an easy day. I honestly think that the Panthers are more likely to score than the Giants a touchdown. Like we'll get into the score prediction, but I have them scoring a touchdown. I actually have them scoring 2. But I just think I could easily see this game just being one of those where like they might score early on, like in the first half, but like it's never going to be anything to where it's like a close game, quite honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. And interestingly enough, so 27 of their points scored this year were that game where Andy Dalton played. And then also they had 24 points in the game last week against the Lions, and it was 21-7 in the middle of the second quarter.
Right.
To come over then. Yeah. With Bryce Young, they scored 10, 17, 13, and 24.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do this thing. I do something. I write a stat down. I put BW, it means best worst. I take away a team's best game and their worst game on defense and offense, just to kind of like, again, like the 70-point game for the Dolphins.
Such an outlier.
An outlier. So I take away team's best and worst. It's going to get harder towards the end or better at the end of the season when you have more info. Mm-hmm. But I took away the best and worst for the Dolphins offense, defense, Panthers offense, defense. The Panthers right now, if you take away their worst game and their best game, they're scoring 13.5 points a game. And if you take away the Dolphins' worst game, which was against the Bills, and their best game against the Giants, they're giving up 21 points a game, which isn't really that bad. I mean, certainly you'd like it to be a little lower, but 21 points isn't super bad. So, I think we're a lot closer to that 21 points a game that we're giving up than the Bills 48, certainly. Obviously, you want to see it proven against the good teams. But yeah, I just look at this again just to kind of close off on the defensive side of things and just say, like the Giants game, like the Patriots game, not much to account for. Rookie quarterback, struggling O-line, and the Dolphins are also 15-2 in their last 17 games at home. So, this isn't really a favorable matchup for the Panthers on offense, really, or defense, but mainly offense.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're definitely at that point of the year where there's been enough games where you can throw out like all the preseason expectations, throw out any priors you had, and you actually have some data to start using. Like, and you kind of don't have an idea of what these teams fully are yet, but certainly a better idea than the preseason. What you expected from these teams. But yeah, just to close off, it's going to be, I think, a pretty dominant performance. Like you said, just confuse him, throw some disguises out there, get some pressure, make him uncomfortable, more uncomfortable than he already is. But yeah, just the game hasn't slowed down for him yet. Make his life difficult, Bryce Young, and you should be able to get up early and kind of go into cruise control at that point. But switching over sides, the defense has been a better story for them overall. Where did I see it? So passing wise, if I could,
I have it. If you're talking about they're number 5 actually in pass yards per game. I got you on the stat. We think alike. Our minds think alike. That's what I'm saying. I just like to write it down just because if I think when you give,
pull it up on my computer.
No, you're good. But yeah, they're number 5 in pass yards per game allowed at 185, which isn't bad at all. It's actually way better than the Dolphins.
Yeah. And honestly, like I haven't dug into it enough. Like I'd be curious to see if that's more opponent based. I don't think it is. I think they just kind of have a pretty solid pass defense. But again, just with how the state of the offense, it's rough on them. Like same thing with the Giants. The Giants had a respectable defense, but they're just out there so much and they have to do so much while the offense is just doing nothing. It becomes like just not only frustrating at a point, but you get tired, especially in the heat and everything. But yeah, their run defense is not as good though. I believe their run defense, I'm checking now, is in the bottom 7. It's the 7th worst rush defense, allowing 140 yards per game. So yeah, I think this is going to be a big day for Raheem and possibly Chris Brooks. I think Chris Brooks will get a pretty hefty amount of time, which is good to see. I'd be glad for him.
Yeah, I think this, a couple things. So the Panthers defense, I said this, I think against the Giants. I believe I did. It's hard for a defense to succeed and offense when your other side sucks. And when your offense is that incapable of scoring, it's hard to continuously bend and not break. And quite honestly, I think the defense is a little bit of a product of the teams they've played. I look at their schedule. They played Desmond Ridder, Derek Carr with the Saints. Geno Smith threw 300 against them, and they let up 37 points. Kirk Cousins had a horrible game, but how much do you put into that? And then Jared Goff had a field day. And I think, quite honestly, if there's a team, there's 3 teams right now where I put them in the same category on offense of they'll destroy you on either the run or pass game. And that's the Lions, the Dolphins, and the 49ers currently right now. And you look at what the Lions did. So I think the Panthers are a little bit of a product of their offense being horrible and the teams they've played, but certainly they're not as bad, definitely not, as their offense. But I look at the rush yards per game. I mean, right now, rushing per game, they're giving up 141 yards, which last week when we played the Giants, they were at about 138. Obviously now it's higher because of what we did to them last week. But I mean, I don't think people quite understand, because of the issues and struggles we've had with our offensive line in the past, how good they are this year, especially in the run game. I mean, this is 2016 Dolphins on steroids. Like, not only are they dominant, but there's just so much space. And to talk a little bit about the Devon Achane injury, like, this is why I'm not super worried about it, because Devon Achane, what makes him special and amazing, and I'm sad he's gone for a little bit, but what makes him special is not the ability to take a 2-yard run to the house. It's the ability to take a 20-yard run to the house. The 20-yard run is still there for the Dolphins, though. And I think that Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson obviously being healthy, Ahmed or Brooks, I think they're going to be just fine. I don't see any game coming up other than maybe the Chiefs, where I go, oh, they're going to lose because Devon Achane isn't there. Because The Eagles, it's going to be about trench play. The Patriots, I mean, my goodness. And then the Panthers, right? So I just think that I understand the Panthers defense is better, but the Dolphins right now, I was laughing writing this down. They're number one in everything. They're number one in yards, passing yards, rush yards, and points per game, which is ridiculous. I mean, we've doubled. I don't know if you knew this. We've doubled our yards per game on the ground from last year. I understand it's only a 5-game sample, but we're at 186 yards a game in the NFL. I mean, that's ridiculous. So I look at this and I say, lackluster offense against our defense in Miami, in the heat, which firsthand, wears fans down, let alone players. And you're going against an offense that is going to put the pressure on you early, and then that's going to make the defense even better. I just look at this and say, I understand statistically on paper, their defense isn't awful, but I don't see this being a game where the Panthers really stand much of a chance on defense at all against this unit. I mean, this is a different beast than anyone they've played up to this point.
Definitely. And then I'm sure you saw this stat on Twitter. Where it was, where did I just had it up here? Catches of 15 plus yards through week 5. Tyreek Hill has 19, and then the Giants have 18. Panthers have the whole team only has 18. The Panthers have 18. The Jets 16. Browns 14. Bengals 11. For the whole team, Tyreek Hill is his own NFL team, basically, or NFL offense.
Yeah, what they're doing right now is crazy, man. I mean, Devon Achane up until getting injured, I mean, Tua right now and Tyreek are on pace to break their respective single season records, and the Dolphins are on pace to break their team season records of NFL history. I mean, they already have the most through 5 games. So yeah, again, it's just like, it's almost hard to fathom what they're doing and comprehend, because we've never really seen anything like it since Greatest Show on Turf. But I wasn't, I was 2 years old. So I have no idea what that was like to live through that.
Don't talk about now, so it must have been pretty good.
Right. So, I mean, they're just firing on all cylinders. And I think, again, you add the fact that, some people have said, is this a trap game? When you have in my opinion, and this could just be me, a trap game, in my opinion, is what happens when you're the Dolphins from 2020 and you go play the Broncos with Tua as a rookie quarterback, and you've been winning a lot of games, but you don't really realize, hey, this is actually a good team and you're not all that amazing. I don't see this being a trap game. If Mike White was playing this game, I still think we'd win. So maybe a trap game as far as they're not as explosive as we thought, but also when the Bills are in your division and they lost last week and they're going to stomp the Giants, you can't afford to lose games. So I don't think they're looking at it oh, let's just mess around this game. So yeah, the Dolphins offense, I mean, you and I both gave our score prediction. We didn't know. We actually had the same score prediction and we didn't know it ahead of time, which is cool. But yeah, we're both predicting big games for the Dolphins offense. So we'll see.
Yeah. And then, so to kind of pivot from, or not really pivot, but you were talking about the O-line. And I just want to say, with their D-line having some key injuries for some guys, we talk about that here. Looks like, Brian Burns, who I'm a big fan of, and Derek Brown are both did not practice today. I think that's pretty interesting. I haven't looked at their schedule. I'd be curious who they play next, if they're kind of not punting on the game, because I thought Brian Burns and Derek Brown were going to play. But yeah, hard to tell. It is only Thursday still, but I kind of think they're going to miss the game now, if you ask me.
Sorry, I need to unmute myself. Yeah, they play the Texans next, which, the Texans are looking good, and I think they'll win that game. The Texans will. That's huge, to be honest with you. When I saw that was the icing on the cake, where I was like, I mean, geez, if those two don't play, I mean, this game might be over by the second quarter. I mean, I'm not even joking. I think that this could be a game where Tua is not playing by the 4th, where if anything's going to make the game closer or maybe not as explosive on offense, it's because the Dolphins were just like, let's take again, I don't think you're ever going to see 70-20 again, because I think it sets too much of a pressure on the team to where now everyone's like, oh, they think they're all that. We'll show them. And then they're feeling themselves a little too much. I don't think you'll see that again. I think it's going to be one of those games where they go out, take care of business. And as long as nothing crazy's happen, let's pull these guys at the end of the third and get these backups. Chase Claypool, let's put him in there for a couple, maybe a go route, a couple slants, simple stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, those are two huge injuries. And it's weird to see that they downgraded as the week went on. So I'm leaning towards they're probably not going to play, which, I mean, I'm pretty sure also I'll pull up the injury report right now for both teams, might as well, right? So here's the injury report. And where is it right here? Taylor Moton right here. It says not injury related rest. But like, I don't know. I mean, he has a knee injury, so that says limited. I don't know how serious that is, but like he's their best offensive lineman, so that's huge. But again, I just look overall at this, and it's like Miles Sanders hasn't practiced 2 days in a row. Xavier Woods, like Brian Burns, Derek Brown now, and it's always worse when you see limited to do not practice. If you see it vice versa, right, then you're like, oh, they're getting better. So I don't know, man. I just say it's too tall of a task, and I think that I just, again, anything can happen in the NFL, but I think this is just going to be an ass whooping, to be completely frank.
Yeah, I echo your sentiment here. Kind of, we were talking like, is this a game you consider resting people? I wouldn't go that far. Like, we're not. This isn't like college, and we're playing an FCS team. You know, it's still the NFL, and plenty of upsets have happened at bigger. Bigger margins where teams were thought to be way worse and they were playing the best teams and they've lost. Like, so anything could happen. But yeah, this definitely feels like a game where you kind of exercise your depth, try out some things, just get out of there healthy. Like I said last week, and the Dolphins did a good job of that. You want to be healthy for next week for sure. There's bigger fish to fry, but just, stay healthy. And we'll talk about our keys to victory here. And I'll just go ahead and start with mine. First, I got get out to an early lead, kind of just piggybacking on everything we talked about. Just make this simple. Don't overcomplicate this game. This needs to be a straightforward game. You get out to an early lead. This offense is not good enough to come back. And then you could lean on the run game and just play sound football. Just do what you've been doing the past few weeks where the offense has been firing on all cylinders, and this should be a good, easy game that we have a comfortable lead in the first half.
Yeah, and to echo getting out to an early lead, because I think after last week, we saw that really the only thing that made that game even kind of close was that pick six. And that's why, to piggyback off that, I put limit the turnovers, because I mean, Chase, get out to an early lead, you limit the turnovers. I mean, this feels like one of those games like the Giants where if the Dolphins go up 14-0, feels like it's going to be over, right? You know what I mean? So,
yeah. And the other thing, like how games like this turn into possible upsets or games where they're much closer than they need to be, is turnovers. That's one of the only ways where I see this team having a chance at like doing something here and making us sweat, is if they get some turnovers to start the game. And like, much like the Dolphins Bills playoff game last year, like we just had those turnovers and punt returns and stuff. And then it became like all of a sudden it's like a close game down to the wire. Don't let something like that happen for this one.
No, yeah. I'll start off with my second one, because you and I we did opposite sides of the football, but same thing is I'm putting run the football. Like we talked about, the Dolphins are the best team in the NFL right now. Certainly without A-Chain, how much of an impact will it make? I'm not sure, but I still think we'll be able to run the ball at will. Good game to kind of get Jeff Wilson back in the fold, maybe get Chris Brooks some carries. But I think that when you're the number one team running the football and you're going against a bottom six team running the football like the Giants were last week, I would be shocked if we were running for less than 120, 100 50 yards in this one. So I'm going to say on offense, again, no need to get crazy, and let Tua have a productive game, but really rely on that run game.
Yeah. And the reason I did on the flip side, stopping the run is my second key here. I think it's going to be important to just make Bryce Young's life difficult. And if they were able to establish a run game and just, could get yards at a time running the ball and just lean on the run game, that can make it easier for him. And he's, while we're saying he's struggling and everything, like he can still hit open guys. Like if we're struggling to stop the run, that makes the play action a weapon. So I think if you stop the run and force him to play football he's not comfortable with doing yet and beat you with his arm, and they're going to have to go pass happy because the run isn't working, they're going to have a tough day.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, that's, the easiest way to make it hard. I guess the easiest way to make it hard. Yeah. An easy way to make it hard for any quarterback, let alone rookie quarterback, is make them one-dimensional on offense. Right. And, the Panthers offense, the best part of their offense is their running. They're rushing for 96 yards a game. But again, that coincides with, that's the best part of our Dolphins defense. Right. And I think you're seeing Christian Wilkins, Zach Sealer, those guys stepping up, getting in better shape, maybe a little rusty from the holdout. Vic Fangio kind of alluded to that in his press conference. So yeah, certainly if you could make this Panthers team one-dimensional like we saw last week against the Giants, I mean, man, that's just going to add even more pressure for Bryce Young.
Yeah. And lastly, for my last key here, I have just keep Tua upright. Kind of just an encapsulation of all the things I've been talking about, staying healthy, just being able to pass the ball. If you could just keep Tua off his back and he has time to throw, which he has needed frighteningly little time. I still can't believe how quick he's getting the ball out. It's going to be a good, successful day for the Dolphins. Every game where he's had time to throw has been just a beat down, or the offense has been able to score at will. So I think that's just big key. And with Connor Williams being a question mark for playing, it's some concern with whenever Liam Eichenberg is on the field in the Dolphins uniform, there's alarm bells going off in everyone's head. So hopefully if he does have to play, he just stops getting immediate quick pressure and we could have a good, successful day with Tua staying up.
Yeah, definitely something to monitor right there with the Liam Eichenberg possibly having to play. It makes it a lot easier if Brian Burns and Derek Brown aren't out there. I'll say that. But, you should be able to beat this team regardless if Connor's out there or not. You might want to just rest him for the Eagles game. But we'll see. Obviously, if he's healthy, we're a much better offense, much better. But yeah, love that, keeping Tua upright. Dolphins have the number 8th ranked offensive line right now, which I feel like this is a dream. I'm not really sure how, we've said that. Right. So, definitely keeping him upright. If you're able to keep him upright, that's going to be huge. Just because as long as he's healthy, I mean, the Dolphins are always going to have a shot. So flipping it to the other side, it's kind of funny. Our last two, it's kind of been like the same point, but on different sides of the ball. Disguise the blitz and disguise the coverage, right? We saw Vic Fangio going against Tua firsthand. Disguise those blitzes. Don't make these reads easy for him. Disguise the blitzes, add some stunts in there, make it hard for Bryce Young to know what's going on, and start hitting them. Obviously don't go out there and you're not trying to kill guys, and I'm not saying injure him, but go out, get some pressure on him, make it hard for him. Don't let a rookie quarterback just go out there and get these easy reads. And that's something I had an issue with Josh Boyer and Brian Flores. Is sometimes I felt like, okay, you're putting cover 0 on a rookie. All they need to do is throw their hot route. Just check it out to the running back. Check it off to the running back. So disguise those blitzes, disguise those coverages, make it hard for him, and definitely hit him, rattle his cage, and make life hard for him. So going into that real quick, I'm going to open up our score because you and I both texted before, and I asked you for your score, and we both had the same one. You and I are both picking the Dolphins to handle business. Let's just say that. So, talk a little bit about, you got them scoring 45 like me. Talk a little bit about it.
Yeah. I mean, like we've talked about, this is just going to be a beatdown, and I think this Dolphins offense can score as much as they want, pretty much. If I wanted to put 56, 70, something like that, I would have, but I just think at some point they call off the dogs. I think it's going to be different. It won't be like that Broncos game probably ever again. You just don't want to put those expectations on the team. I feel like it's kind of what happened. But yeah, I mean, I don't see them being able to have much success. I think if they score any points, it's going to be when garbage time has already started. And we'll just keep seeing what happens here. But, man, I think these scores for the Dolphins are going to become the norm. Like, even against the good defenses, I just don't see how we score less than 30 points at minimum.
Right. Yeah. I think especially against a team like this where, just still finding their identity, not a great team. You factor in we're 15-2 in the last 17 games at home. We always play better at home. Our offense is always more electric at home. I just think this is a game where it's going to continue the streak of 500 plus yards, 500 plus yards in the air, 150 plus yards on the ground. And quite honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if we're sitting here and it's like, 35-10, and it's like the end of the, or maybe even it's like 38-10, and it's like the end of the fourth quarter, and they just put Mike White in there, and they get Chase Claypool involved or Chris Brooks, and he scores a touchdown. But yeah, certainly, I think the Panthers might come out and score about a touchdown a half, and then maybe a field goal in the second half in garbage time. But yeah, ultimately, I really don't see this game being that close. Really at all, to be honest with you. I don't like their defense as much as the Giants, and we were able to hang 31 on them, and that was with a pick six, right? So we would have had 38 there. So certainly this game, don't see it really being that close of a battle. Unfortunately for the Panthers. So there's that.
Last thing I kind of want to talk about real quick, and we didn't plan for this, but man, if I was a Panthers fan, I'd be sweating right now because it gave away their first round pick this year for Bryce Young. Man, yeah. So they don't have any option but to try to win games. Like, there's no point in tanking. They got to go out there, try to win every game. Man, tough spot to be in as a fan and as a franchise.
And I know they want that number one wide receiver. I mean, how are you going to get that if you don't have, maybe Jerry Jeudy, if you can do like a package that adds up to a first. But, again, it's just a tough situation for sure. But hey, I've been there. We've been there as Dolphin fans. So, I'm going to enjoy where we are right now. And again, you go out, you take care of business. Are you going to this game?
I'll be there. I'll be there.
All right.
Yep.
All right. So, yeah. So just, take care of business. We go in there, and hopefully really the main thing with games like this is take care of business and stay healthy, and, the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah. Let's move that to 16-2. And that's just home games, you said, right? I wonder if it counts any international games that we may have.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure the last 17. I'm trying to think. When was the last time we played the Jacksonville Jaguars? Was the last time in 2021?
No, that
and yeah. So right. So yeah, last 17 home games were. I don't know. Even if it is away, we lost against that Jacksonville Jaguars team in London. So even if that was considered a home game, I don't think it is. I think it's like last 17 games at Hard Rock. They've only lost 2 of them, and I'm not even sure. I'm trying to go back and think what would those 2 games.
The Packers and
the Packers game last year, and then the Vikings game.
Skylar Thompson, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So think about that. Your only 2 games you've lost without Tua at home in the last 17 games at Hard Rock were when he wasn't playing or he got concussed, and he shouldn't have been playing, right? So anyway, Anyway, I'm excited for this game. Again, enjoy.
that stat, man. Let's get a home playoff game.
Yeah, enjoy. Yeah, home playoff game, man, would be incredible, and that's really, where the path I think we're that's the trajectory for this team as long as we stay healthy and take care of some of those harder games against the Chiefs, Eagles. Eagles game next week, I might shock a couple people. I have to look at it a little, but I don't think that's necessarily as much of a. That's going to be a good game. I'll just say that. I think it's going to be a good game.
Yeah, I think definitely next week. Definitely some more entertaining sort of games to break down. And then we'll see what we have after this game. I mean, there's no shortage of surprises in the NFL. I'm sure we'll definitely have some stuff to talk about, but I think the plan will kind of be we kind of pivot to the Eagles game maybe early in that episode or at some point. But yeah, other than that though, guys, you got any closing thoughts?
No, enjoy this game. Hopefully Dolphins can be 5-1, first time in I think like 21 years. So enjoy the game. Hopefully we come out the win, stay healthy, and we'll see you next time, I guess.
Yeah, guys, please like, share, comment, subscribe from us here at Dolphins vs. World. Fins up, go Dolphins.